Starting it off in the number 5 spot of the best budget mouse for FPS gaming is the Cooler Master MM711, coming in at a price tag of $25.99, currently on Amazon. And there will be Amazon links for all the 5 mice in this video. You can check them out below in the description. But first, let's talk the sensor. This uses the Pixart 3389 sensor. This is a widely used sensor. It's very good for fast-paced gaming, like FPS gaming. I've used this same sensor in a massive amount of mice, and it's very proven at this point. This mouse also has a 1000 Hertz polling rate, up to 16,000 DPI, 400 IPS, and a max acceleration of 50 Gs. Now, build quality here is very good, even while being extremely light. I'll tell you the weight in a minute, but it feels incredibly solid and very tightly put together, which you can't say about all lightweight mice. Size-wise, this is not small and not large, but kind of there in the middle. And this is ambidextrous, except for the fact that it does not have the 2 side buttons on the right side. It only has it on the left side for your right-hand users. Now, for your skates or your feet, these are fully PTFE, and the gliding is good, but because they have 2 skates on the rear instead of a bigger PTFE pad, it doesn't skate as well as I want. There's a little bit of drag, but again, the price is really good here, so you're gonna have to decide if you're gonna be nitpicky or not. Now, the scroll wheel is a little bit lighter here, but it's highly tactile, and it doesn't have any mushy feel, which I really appreciate. Now, for switches, this is using Omron switches, and they feel nice and clicky. But now, the weight. This is very impressive, especially for the price, coming in at only 60 grams. That's very good, especially considering the current price. But again, prices will change, so check the links below, but I think it's $25.99 currently. For the cable, this is a lightweight cable, which is that looser wrapping, and it's very good. There's no pulling, there's no tension or anything like that. It's great. Now, RGB is awesome here. This has a really cool diffused look in the cutout section, and it's really cool to have that nicer RGB with a mouse that's still 60 grams. Overall, a great, very, very budget-friendly option for FPS gaming. If you only got 25, 26 bucks laying around, this one is hard to beat, especially if you want a lightweight gaming mouse with a great sensor. But with that, let's move on to the number 4 spot, which is the tried and true Razer Viper. Typically priced at $49.87. This uses the Razer Focus Plus 20K optical sensor. At this point, it's a tried and true sensor. It's fairly new, but it's fantastic for gaming. It's used in some of Razer's most premium mice out there. And obviously, you get that crazy 8,000 Hertz polling rate. Now, how much this actually matters, well, that depends on a lot of other factors like your PC and your monitor, but obviously you're getting one of the fastest polling rates on the market, and at a price tag that's not crazy, although I do think that there's personal better options out there, and you might agree. This goes up to 20,000 DPI, 650 IPS, and 50 Gs of acceleration. Now, build quality is very good without having any cutouts like a honeycomb design, so if you're into that, you might really like this. It still is lightweight. It's on the bigger side, but it's not super tall. Now, the reason it's in the number 4 spot is it's a fantastic mouse with a lot of great features, but I think there are other mice that better fit my hand. Now, obviously, that depends on grips and everything like that, but I think for the majority of people, there are better mice out there because of the shape of the mouse. Now, it's ambidextrous, and this might be a reason that I have a problem with the actual grip, but it does have 2 side buttons on both sides. So it's got 4 side buttons, both on the left and the right. So whether you're a left-hand user or a right-hand user, you're gonna be good. This has PTFE feet, and it glides pretty good. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. And I do wanna say it does glide well, but just not as well as the other ones on the list, especially the number 2 and number 1 spot. Now, the scroll wheel is tactile and a little heavier than others on the list, but a lot of times this is better during gameplay. You're a little bit more accurate. Now, the switches here are great. These are Razer's Gen 2 optical switches. These are some of my favorite switches. They have a nice clicky feel. I really like the Gen 1, but the Gen 2s are just like even better, and they don't have any problems, any reliability or long-term usage problem that I've been able to see or read online, and well, none of my mice have ever had problems. Now, this weighs in at 71 grams, and for the size of that, that's pretty good. For the cable, this is what Razer calls their Speed Flex, which is just an ultralight cable design. Pretty much everyone's ultralight cable design is just as good as the other. There's no tugging, there's no pulling, there's no resistance. That's great. It feels like a wireless mouse. Now, RGB here is very minimal, only with the Razer logo lighting up. And well, that's actually it. Now, this is overall fantastic if you want a mouse with a very high polling rate that's really good overall, and especially if you like that grip, this might be great for you. But this is an awesome budget mouse to pair with a 360Hz or 500Hz monitor. But let's move on to the number 3 spot, and this is the Logitech G305 LIGHTSPEED, coming in at a price tag of $39.99. This is the only wireless mouse on the list, and really the only wireless mouse that you should buy at this price point. If you do want a different brand or a different mouse, I really do suggest bumping your price point up, but let's talk about it. This has the Hero sensor, which is Logitech's sensor, and it is obviously very, very good for FPS. This is one of the best sensors in the game. It's very accurate, it's very smooth. Now, while this is a wireless mouse, it uses a 2.4 gigahertz USB dongle, so we're not talking Bluetooth here, which you do not want to use for gaming. So this is still getting a 1000 hertz polling rate, up to 12,000 DPI, 400 IPS, and 40 Gs of acceleration. Now, build quality is fantastic, having tons of color options, which I find very, very cool. I don't think it has any RGB at all, but it has a lot of these color options, which can be very, very cool. I really like that they do that. No gaming mice does that. It's either white or black. This is very cool, but it's overall very well put together. Maybe better than any other mouse on the list. And I don't mean the quality of parts are the best quality ever, because the number 1 spot definitely has that, but the fit is very well. There's no creaks, there's no movements. Everything feels very, very tight. Now, as far as the size, this is for average size or medium size hands to small hands. So if you have a large hand, this might work if you're using a claw grip or something like that, but if not, you may want to go to a larger mouse. Now, this is ambidextrous, but you only have those 2 side buttons on the left side. Now, as far as the skates or the feet, there are only 4 of them, and they're on each corner. Because of this design, it really wasn't the best design here, and it does cause some dragging. Now, I don't want to blow this out of proportion. This is me being nitpicky. If you're someone who has never even noticed something like dragging or anything like that, you probably won't have a problem. But if you're big into FPS and you have to have a perfect gliding mouse, well, you either will want to get upgraded skates for this mouse, which you can absolutely do and probably fix this problem completely, or you'll want to look at a different mouse. But if you're into a wireless mouse that's great for FPS gaming, Logitech just does it better than anyone at this price point. Now, the scroll wheel is actually very, very nice here. Logitech also has a history with making the best scroll wheels in the game for a very, very long time, so that's not really any surprise. It's highly tactile, very accurate, and there's zero mushiness. There's no problems. Now, the switches I actually really like here. They're lighter than Razer's optical switch, and they're very clicky. Now, because they're very light, some people may run into accidental clicks, but for me, when I'm gaming, I'm very, very precise most of the time. This was actually really, really enjoyable, and it doesn't cause as much fatigue in some way, right? You're not clicking as hard. So I actually really liked this mouse when gaming. When I was testing everything for this video, a lot of the mice I've used before for long periods of time, but I gathered a ton of mice together and was just going through which one felt the best after comparing all the stats and getting a group together, and this one actually surprised me. I thought it was probably going to be in a, well, not the number 3 spot, or maybe even not on the list, but this one was really, really nice. I kept finding myself wanting to use it again, and well, that says a lot. All right, but let's talk about the weight, because this is heavier. This is not, I wouldn't even consider this a lightweight mouse at all, because this comes in at 99 grams, which sounds like a lot for the size of this mouse, but there is a way that you can kind of remedy this. So like I said, this is wireless, but it actually uses a AA battery inside of it to power it. So it doesn't have a internal battery that you charge. So what you can do is you can actually get a lithium AA battery, which is quite a bit lighter. So taking it from 99 grams down to around 86, 87 grams, which is a big difference. I mean, that's really, really nice. The other pro to having AA batteries is that you're never gonna run out of battery. Have a few batteries on your desk, pop it out, slip a new one in, done, and you're ready to go. So I actually do like that this has a battery and you're getting like 250 hours of usage, and there's no RGB to change that figure, so that's really good. But talking a little bit more about the wireless connectivity, this is exclusively wireless. You have no physical connection. You can't plug this in with a USB-C. There are no ports on this. This has a USB dongle, you plug it in, and you put the battery in, and you're done. Then there's an on and off switch on the bottom, and that's how you connect it. There's no real connection or anything like that. And the good part about this is, well, I've had a lot of gaming mice that are wireless, and they all have problems at some point. And when you are in mid-game and you have a problem, you have to close the game, it is unbelievably annoying. I don't think I've had a single wireless mouse that at some point didn't have a problem, except this one. This one has absolutely no issues. I think it's something to do with, well, them just simplifying it, putting a AA battery in there. It's stupid good. Also, the connection has never cut out on me. There's never been any lags. There's never been any connection issues. It's just been perfect. Now, in the box, you also do get a USB extender that you can use to plug that dongle in, which is pretty sweet, but I've never even needed to use it, and my PC does not sit on my desk. It sits way over in the corner of the room, so I mean, that's really, really good. If you want a wireless mouse at this price point, they just do it better than anyone else, and I wouldn't really recommend buying a different one at this price point. You would have to bump your price point on to get similar quality. And lastly, there is no RGB, but you have a bunch of cool colorways, so I think that kind of evens it out. All right, but with that, let's move on to the number 2 spot, which I think will be no surprise to anyone, is the glorious Model D, coming in at a price tag of $49.99. This is a great lightweight mouse option for medium to bigger size hands, and we also have a small to medium size hand option. All right, for the sensor, this uses a 3360 sensor, which is very comparable to the 3389 sensor, so very, very good. Tried and true, again, used in a ton of different mice. It's very good for fast-paced FPS gaming. This has a 1000 hertz polling rate, 12,000 DPI, 250 IPS, and 50 Gs of acceleration. The build quality here is pretty good, feeling very nice in the hand. Now, as far as size, this is for medium and large hands, but they also do make the Model D minus, which is actually the same link below, and that's for small and medium hands. So you can kind of pick what size you want depending on your hand size, which is actually very, very cool. Now, I will say this is not ambidextrous. This is a right-handed mouse. Most of the time, I prefer a mouse that is dedicated to my right hand. That sounded very strange, but I typically do prefer one that is fitted to my right hand rather than an ambidextrous mouse. And this is all comes down to personal preference, but yeah, that's why I like the Model D specifically. Now, the feet are Glorious's G-Skates, which are 100% PTFE, and this glides incredibly well. You have a lot of surface area on those glides, and I think really that's the reason that it glides so well. No noticeable pulling, dragging, or anything. This thing's really, really smooth to move around. That's a huge reason why I love this mouse. Now, the switches are Omron, and they feel very nice. Great weight for FPS gaming, but the fantastic thing is for the size of this mouse, and it is fairly high, great for palm grips. This is 68 grams for the matte finish and 69 grams, nice, for the glossy finish. That's a fantastic size and weight for FPS gaming. Now, if you do go on to the Model D minus, I think it's around, is it 60 grams? Which is very, very good. Now, the cable again is an ultralight design, no problems, no dragging, feels like a wireless mouse. It's the same across the board. I'm not gonna put a mouse on here that doesn't have an ultralight cable. But along with that weight, you still get cool RGB, having 2 rails along it that, well, it's all customizable, and then you have some glow inside of that honeycomb cutout design. But with that, let's move on to the number 1 spot, which is the Razer Basilisk V3. Now, not a lightweight mouse, but still unbelievably good. Coming in at a price tag, a current price of $58.70. Check the links below for current pricing. This uses the Razer Focus Plus sensor, which again, like I said, is very tried and true. It is really, really good sensor. This has a 1000 hertz polling rate, 26,000 DPI, 650 IPS, and 50 Gs of acceleration. Now, the build quality is amazing here. Some of the best I've seen in the industry. It is a larger mouse. It's got injection molded side pieces on the left and right, which feel fantastic and very grippy. And I have a pretty average size hand. I have shorter fingers, but a very large palm. As you can see, that's my hand. Now, these are right-handed mouse, so it's not ambidextrous. I would say you could still use this if you have small hands, but not like micro hands. You like small hands to medium hands to large hands, those would work all well. If you have very, very small hands, this is a little bit of a bigger mouse. But let's talk about the feet. These are 100% PTFE and they glide very well. I would say as good as the Glorious, although slightly different again because this is a little bit heavier. However, we'll talk about the weight because it's not really a problem. Well, depending on who you are and your play style. Now, the scroll wheel feels great. It has 2 modes. You can either be tactile or it can be a free wheel. And that just changes with a button. It's all electronic, which is sweet. The tactileness feels great in game to be very accurate. But with that, let's talk about the weight. This comes in at only 101 grams. Now, for the size of this mouse and all of the buttons and customizability and, well, the class that this mouse is in, 101 grams is actually very low. To put that in comparison, this is almost the same weight as the Logitech G305. That's pretty crazy. Also significantly lighter than the Logitech G502. Now, this is not a lightweight mouse, but this does depend on playstyle. I play with a very fast, high DPI, high sensitivity. So if you're someone who has a lower sensitivity that really whips their mouse around a lot more, you might prefer a lightweight mouse. But for me, I'm not even moving my mouse that much. It's more about the accuracy of it. At the end of the day, this is what I get most kills with. This is the one I feel most comfortable with, and this is the one I just want to keep coming back to. Now, another big thing that's big for me with FPS gaming specifically is that I transition all the time between play styles. I'm not just gonna play a sniper. I might play very fast SMG, close combat, and then I'll switch to being a sniper, more long range stuff. This has a sniper paddle on it, so when you hold that paddle in with your thumb, it lowers the DPI substantially, so you have those very accurate movements. This is huge. This is something where you might think it's a little gimmicky. It might be for some people, but I use it all the time when I'm gaming. I use it probably every single time when I game. Now the cable is Razer's SpeedFlex. Again, it's very light, never pulls. All of the ones on the list have that cable except the Logitech because it's wireless. And the RGB, well, you've seen it's absolutely awesome. It has it on the wheel, it has it on the logo, and then it has it almost 360 degrees around it. It's super bright, it's beautiful. You could change it in the Razer Synapse app. It's fantastic. Again, guys, if you want to check out any of the 5 mice in this video, there's Amazon links below for the US, UK, Canada, and international links. But those are my top pick. Subscribe below if you enjoy this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.